Hey everybody, my name is Russ. That is Lauren. Welcome to our Sunday vinyl video. And this one is kind of an exciting one. It might be mundane for some folks. Like there's probably a lot of people that are like, it's like, I think we've talked about before the scene in Silver Linings Playbook where they win, they get a 5 and they go nuts. And the judge is like, why they're so excited about a 5?
Mhm.
Like there might be people who are like, yeah, I've owned this record forever, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, sure, sure.
So, but for us, this is exciting. And thus that's why we're sharing it with you. So we went to a record fair recently here in Jacksonville, Florida, and came away with like more than a few records we were pretty excited about.
Yep.
And it was funny. You'll see mostly over the next month and a half or so, you're going to see kind of like the fruits of that record trip. And most of the stuff that we got between the two of us couldn't be more different.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. But this record here, Steve Winwood, Arc of a Diver, is an album that I had never heard of, or even heard one note off of. Um, I am high level Steve Winwood at most, and like not for any, like I like everything I've ever heard by Steve Winwood. But like what I've heard is like so remedial, like of the Traffic years, Dear Mr. Fantasy,
Okay.
of his solo years, Higher Love, Roll With It, there might be some Steve Winwood fans who just threw up in their mouth.
That's
Like,
okay.
some folks hate that song. I like it. But anyways, that type of stuff is what I know. So when she pulled the Steve Winwood record, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm not against this, and I was blown away by how good this album is.
I
Like,
know, right?
I was like instantly mad at myself for having never heard it, but it was also fun to hear it for the first, like I had never heard a note
Yeah.
of music off of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had heard, I guess, the whole thing
Mhm.
previously digitally or
Yeah, just digitally, I mean, I love the title track. I love so much about this album. And, for all you know about music, it's always exciting for me when I get to share something with you that
Mhm.
I enjoy. And like, I got to like watch him listen to it for the first time. And I go,
Oh, I was
is
so,
he,
I
is
was
he going
so
to think
stoked.
about this?
Yeah,
You
I
know?
was so stoked. It's such like if you're watching this and you're like, oh, if you saw the thumbnail and you're like, it's like me, if you're like, Higher Love and all that stuff and Valerie and whatnot, and you just were like, never listen to anything else. Like I think I've established I'm not a Steve Winwood authority, but I would tell you to seek this out for sure. Like there might be other, if you're a Steve Winwood fan, you might be like, oh, well, there's this other record that's even better. I think this is such a stellar album.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. So we just want to talk a little bit about the copy that we found at the record fair. We always kind of talk about the same points, like the packaging and the sound of the record, what we paid and what we think the value is. Now, packaging is always kind of a weird thing when we talk about original pressings
Mhm.
because records, when records were the main format and they were very much mass produced, unless you were, and this is just off the top of my head, All Things Must Pass or Physical Graffiti or another Led Zeppelin, like 3, Sticky Fingers, like most average records were average pressings,
Sure.
like nothing special
Yeah.
on the
Makes
packaging,
sense.
or even Traffic, low spark of High Heel Boys has like a special cut cover. So I can't hold it against something like this. Like if this was like a reissue or even a deluxe reissue or something, I would have a lot to say about like, oh, they could have done better. But like cover a good solid cardboard sleeve and printed inner sleeve is about what you can expect.
Yeah.
For that time. That's what you were excited. Now this is the first time you'd ever even seen or heard it on vinyl though,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
So was there anything about the artwork or anything blown up that mattered?
No, I mean like the cover itself, it was cool to see it big because, when you're listening to it streaming, it's always like, what even is that? It's hard to get a good look at the actual arc of the diver on the
Right.
cover of it.
Yeah.
So it was neat for me just to go like, wow, okay, I get this.
Yeah. Sound wise, I want to make clear that it's not just the audio quality that I was blown away by, like the actual music itself. I really, really liked. The sound quality is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Like I think it was on for maybe like half a song before I was like, I need to know who produced this.
Yeah.
And I need to know who played on it. You know what I mean? Like it was, cause it's just, really like, again, if you are a later era Winwood fan, like a lot of what he did in the 80s sounds 80s in as much as it's like slickly produced and whatnot. I think this is produced just as well. It's just a different type of music. It's not as synth pop as the 80s stuff, but it's very synth.
Oh no, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I totally get that. You're trying to find a way to say this doesn't sound as 80s as the rest of it. Like, but there's no good
but
way
it's
to
produced
do it.
just as well
But
as the stuff was in the 80s. Like oh, I don't want to offend anybody, but okay, so Brothers in Arms sounds like an 80s album, but it's produced really, really well. Older Dire Straits, I would argue, not only doesn't sound like the 80s, but isn't produced anywhere in the discussion with Brothers in Arms.
That's fair.
Where this is a different type of music, but is produced just as well, in my opinion.
No, that makes sense. At least. I get that.
When we talk about original pressings like this too and stuff we found at record fairs, the price and the value thing kind of goes hand in hand because, and we'll get into this in a different video, but we just recently both had a record in our hands. It's a single LP from a current artist, and both of us laughed out loud at the price being almost $40 and put it back down because for me, there's no value there. When you're dealing with these older pressings, unless you're dealing with a newer record store, somebody who has no idea what they're doing, or somebody who does pricing by what things are being asked for on Discogs, not selling for.
Right.
That's when you get into a situation where you're like, oh, there's no way the value matches the record. This was $10 and it was in fantastic shape, but I would buy this record 15 times in a row at $10 for how good the music is on it. Yeah.
I concur.
Yeah. Like, I mean, what do you think as far as well, let me ask this then. Knowing how good it sounds on vinyl now, because this is the first time that you'd heard it, like at what cutoff point would you be like, okay, well, I don't want to own that on vinyl that bad?
I'd pay $25 for this.
You pay 25?
Yeah. I think it's that good. And I think that, which is just my opinion, if you're gonna own a Steve Winwood album, in my opinion, this is the one to have. Like that's my thought. I mean, I love this stuff that came a little later on in the 80s. I love it. I just don't higher love. I love it. But this album for me it gives you glimmers of what he's about to do, while also
I agree with that for sure.
Right? Like while you see a chance, like you've got that womp womp womp. It's like
you hear a little bit of what was as well.
Yeah. So this is like everything that I love about Steve Winwood, the past and the future. Like this is like right where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So that's our thoughts on a great original pressing of Ark of the Diver by Steve Winwood that we found recently at a record store. A record show down here in Jacksonville. Let us know. Again, I would like, please hit the like button and all this stuff. But what matters to us more than anything on these videos is the conversation. So I would like to hear from Steve Winwood fans of either side. Like if you're like me and all you knew before was this, or all you still know is that, or if the whole time at the beginning you were like, I can't believe this guy's never heard this. Like I would like to hear from you either way. So let us know what you think. If you would, please do hit the like button because that does help the video out. I know you hear that in every video, but I assure you it's true. That is Lauren. My name is Russ. And as we always say, thank you so much for watching.